What will never be the same again once the pandemic is over? Time spent with my kids. Pre-pandemic I would leave the house 5 days a week at 6:15 am to commute to the office, usually before anyone else in my house is awake. And I'd get home most evenings just in time to put them to bed. I'll never go back to that. The past 8 months I've actually seen my boys grow up in front of my eyes and I get lots of quality time with them every day, even with work from home. I know now what I was missing. Hopefully your boss will finally admit that all his dumb meetings actually could have been emails all along. Small businesses. As a kitchen worker, I'm very concerned about our industry. So many independent restaurants have closed down in our town, like 1/3 at least in the past months. It's depressing because we all have a deep passion for our careers, and we are just watching it all crumble. My dogs have expected me to basically be around all the time and rub their bellies 24/7. Most of the mom and pop stores in my town are gone forever. Some of these stores I grew up with, the Nickel Arcade, the tiny French bakery my aunt took us to when we got good grades, the only ramen shop open after 10 p.m, my favorite donut shop, the fancy British tea shop I never had a good date in, but many London fogs that were utterly perfect, the only dim sum place, the handmade mochi and tea shop, the only cigar shop in town to get fancy cigars. I lament the death of all these tiny businesses I took for granted. I always thought they'd be around. Now my community is left with just brand name box stores, no more originality and flavor. Just closed sky-rise buildings surrounded by a garishly lit Denny's Olive Garden and Target. Working in an office, particularly in Japan. I live in Japan. Going to the office and spending all day here is a deep cultural tradition. Asking your manager at a traditional Japanese company to work from home regularly is on par with asking them, hey, I just realized I'm Dragonkin. Can you please work with the cafeteria to put live cats on the menu? You would get the same reaction. Even in cases of personal illness or family emergency. So many companies here, even in the early COVID days, flat out publicly said, no, we will never be doing that work from home thing. Sorry. That's laughably naive. Then, the country issued a declaration of national urgency, not an actual emergency, as that would entitle the gov to be actually accountable to the livelihoods of the people. Just a very strong-arm public stance, and shaming businesses into following suit. Literally those same companies issuing the statements above were scrambling the next week to get their staff safely working from home, online, using remote meeting tools, etc. So, that was a big game changer. Still, everyone was thinking, once the urgency order is lifted, we'll all be going back to work as normal. Well, the urgency order lasted a few months, and those traditional Japanese businesses saw what happened to their bottom lines when they no longer had to pay for electricity, heating/AC, cleaning, office equipment and maintenance, subsidized travel expenses to slash from work, soft items like coffee and snacks, etc. And so many of them now are singing the praises of a sensible work from home policy and planning for even long-term work from home options. Now the society is changing very rapidly to accommodate working from home. More people recently are less looking at buying their first house/apartment in crowded Tokyo outskirts/close suburbs and looking more to buying 1 to 2 hours away in the Botanies, where land is actually affordable and living is better. It's watching a sociological essay/study unfold, live, in slow motion. A massive amount of people now know they can work from home. Obliviousness to how many things I touched between hand washings. I used to work retail/cashier, and the way money smells is so fucking gross. I'd help count cash, store cash at open/close, and money just stinks. At the time it was like, yeah, it's gross, but I'll just wash my hands before lunch. Meanwhile, I'd be rubbing my eyes and nose, biting my nails, stocking food, touching my face. I'm genuinely wondering how I didn't get some kind of plague before all this. Probably the grossest thing people don't think about that I learned working retail is a lot of packages in the freezer and refrigerated sections have snot on them. When you are in the cold for so long your nose runs a lot, but they expect you to finish 10 hours of work in 6 hours. If you take the time To blow/wipe your nose every time it drips, you get yelled at for being too slow. So the back of your gloves become a quick and disgusting tissue replacement. Not to mention, when a drop falls out 10x quicker than normal for some reason and lands right on the package. Well, it's only on the packaging, so it's not a big deal. Remember that next time you open up a bag of shredded cheese and stick your hand in it. Office life. My company has already announced that once we are allowed to go back, we'd only be going once or twice a week. It seems many realized how feasible working from home is. My attitude towards my entertainment backlog. Previously I used to look at my PlayStation library or my Netflix list and think if I just had a few weeks off, I could make a serious dent. I've had more than a few weeks off, and my backlog seems, if anything, more endless. I'll probably be in the retirement home with that little voice in the back of my head going, Peaky Blinders is meant to be good. Should get on that. My waistline. I had finally started working out 5 days a week, eating healthy, going to bed on time, etc. I kept that up for about 3 months, and 1 month into COVID, before losing the mental strength. I gained pretty much all that weight back, and I'm pretty bummed. On the bright side, my younger brother has finally gotten his shit together, and looks better than he has in years. My bank balance. In the words of the great Tiger King himself, I'm never gonna financially recover from this. As a nursing assistant, I will be forever so hesitant to get near someone, particularly the elderly who like to cough directly at you, without my eye shield and mask. Healthcare workers going to work without a mask on. Definitely took for granted seeing my co-workers' smiling faces during my long shifts. Food delivery just being dropped off on your doorstep. Remember when you had to go outside and make eye contact like some kind of person? No more, my friends. Just leave it outside and I'll get it when I'm ready. No more scrambling to find pants when you're half-baked and hungry. Shopping will continue to be mostly online and malls will likely die out faster than they were already going to. My marriage. My wife and I had to work from home together, separate jobs, from March until September, when she had to go back to the office. I'm still working from home. During this time, we became increasingly closer. I have heard so many stories of marital problems being caused by COVID. I literally miss my wife every day she has to go to work. I meet her at the door like a fucking puppy. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes forced proximity does too. Movies. Unfortunately, cinema specifically, I'm sure a lot of production companies will take enormous losses or possibly file bankruptcy as no one is paying to go see movies anymore. The other issue being that no one can really make movies at the moment either. Travel bans all over, logistic issues, actors not able to be within close proximity to one another, and then all the post-production work that, for the most part, can't be done from home. Little to no support for creative arts jobs from governments around the globe. Artists encouraged to retrain in other sectors. It's devastating. I work in the film and TV industry, mostly TV, in Los Angeles. We shut down for 5 months, but are crazy busy now. All studios are packed. Union rosters are employed. We've changed how we work a lot. There are a lot of safety protocols. In fact, a whole new department has been made because of it. Covered safety. There is a lot more set building and less location work for obvious reasons. I think that film and TV will just evolve, as it has been anyway. Not so many summer blockbusters and holiday theater seat fillers, more long-form mini-series etc. that are more suited for home TV. It sucks to say too, because I love the theater experience. Either way, just came here to say content is being made in one way or another and the people who work here are fully employed. Not sure what's actually happening with the studios, but I'll take the paychecks while I can. I have the impression that people have shown their worst part and this will have consequences for a long time. As a current college student, I'm in favor of keeping recorded lectures. It's way more helpful than just having notes or slides. People coming into work sick to show how dedicated to work they are, or saving those days for mental health days meant ironically. No Justin. Don't come over to my desk with your coughing and runny nose telling me how bad you're roughing it at work to get some sympathy. If you're looking for sympathy, look under the dictionary between shit and syphilis. Anytime you're sick, you'll wear a mask. I'm amazed at all the times I flew before, when I had a cold, and didn't wear a mask. Hopefully working from home, WFH, will become more of a normal thing, and companies will have much smaller offices. Video games. They feel like they did when I was a teenager again. Usually I feel guilty that I'm not doing something more productive, but right now I could care less about spending a whole weekend doing almost nothing but playing video games. Having been the funeral organist for numerous pandemic-caused deaths, I can bear first-hand witness to the sad fact that the families and friends of the departed brought to their death by COVID-19 will never be the same. Literally this morning, our local paper reported that the government is aiming to achieve full internet coverage throughout Indonesia, reaching even the remote villages by 2024. We had a local meme as our boomer minister said a few years back something in the line of why do we need strong internet access? It took the poor stealing smartphones for the sole purpose of letting their kids attend online classes to convince them. So the answer to the question is, some boomers' view on the value of internet accessibility. Cruise ships. Dubious that industry will come out the other side without radical changes. I'd feel fantastic if remote work remained permanent. I can get rid of my second car to save money. Lunch at home. Meetings are shorter and less annoying than in person. People have actually been sending work over email instead of interrupting me with their random bullshit. And it's pretty awesome not having to deal with traffic or deal with people in general. I don't understand people who are dying to go back to the office. Seriously? Airline fares. Now they are doing all this validity extension and not charging change fees. As soon as COVID is over, they'll go right back to the restricted fares of before. Hopefully frequent hand washings will become the norm. And hand sanitizers in shops, restaurants and public spaces. As someone who refuses to touch food, if I haven't washed my hands, I'm emetophobic. I'm terrified of the stomach flu. This endless supply everywhere I go is really nice. And people who usually don't care about washing their hands do it more often. I've enjoyed the solitude of not having so many social obligations. Once this is all over, I'll have to go back to being the asshole that lies about not feeling well to get out of them. I'm the opposite. I was just starting to get out of my shell after shutting into myself for 6 to 7 years. I was super excited to do things with friends this year. Music festivals, car stuff, trips to the lake, going out and socializing. The only thing that really changed for me this year was traffic. My job was listed as essential, so work life didn't change. Thankfully I've kept in touch with those friends, but all of us have been saying recently it's good to get the gang together again the last couple times we hung out. People actually give a crap about hygiene. I thought I was crazy washing my hands for a minute after I used the restroom or used a paper towel to open doors while leaving it when so many other people didn't. Completely grossed me out. Who knew understanding how viruses work would be a life pro tip? Childhood development theories. We now have an entire group of children who have missed what are regarded as developmental milestones. Learning to play cooperatively with others, learning to share, empathy building, etc. It will be very interesting to see the research coming out over the next decade or so. I think masks are going to become standard in hospitals or when someone is sick. Other than that, I think life will be almost the same within 5 years. IDK if it counts, but I was 3 months away from graduating. Most of us were waiting for the final goodbye event. It never came. Had to finish exams in online mode. Certificate came at CLG, and had to collect them at your own pace. All of us were from different cities and some were from different states too. I was an extrovert, so I was one of the most emotional one about it. Here I couldn't even say final goodbye. God knows if we will meet ever again. From now on, I will never not wear a mask when sick. I don't care if it's a tiny cold. If I so much as have the sniffles, I'm wearing a mask. It's honestly just common courtesy that I should have done for my whole life. I really hope people will keep wearing masks on public transport. At the least I'll keep wearing mine. I used to get so many colds, but now I'm not on packed trains. I haven't caught a single sniffle. Germophobia now becoming socially accepted and even encouraged. Thank goodness I got therapy for my germophobia years ago, else I'd be feeling so validated right now. I'd probably justify never leaving my house, never breathing unfiltered air, and never touching something with bare hands ever again. I often wonder what my therapist who helped cure me would be thinking right now. Scary time to be alive. Dating is going to get even more app related, which isn't good for most people honestly. Especially if people work at home more and don't go out for entertainment. The US government, hopefully. I want us to get rid of the two-party system and truly elect those into Senate and House of Reps who have the best interest of the world and the people at heart. This red and blue shit is too much. The word quarantine used to lead everyone to think of hazmat suits and whatnot, but now everyone just thinks of being locked at home. Dave & Buster's. I don't think it's gonna make it, and I'm going to miss that place. Seriously, I have at least $40 of credit on a bunch of their cards, and I guess at this point I just have to chalk that up as a loss. My social life. I thought I had friends, but I've had zero conversations with them since the pandemic shut schools down in March. And from what I've seen, I'm not the only one. Lots of people are finding out that their friends aren't actually their friends. It's kind of a depressing realization, honestly.